Ever wish you could kind of, sneak a peek at a CEO's to-do list?
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're diving into today. We're taking a deep dive into the productivity playbooks of those business giants, like the Elon Musks and Oprah Winfrey's of the world.
It's a good point. And our source, How to Work Smarter, Not Harder, Productivity Hacks from Top CEOs, reveals that even with all their resources at hand, even these leaders, they still grapple with the same constraint we all do, which is time.
Oh, okay, that's kind of comforting, right?
Yeah,
Like even Elon Musk has only 24 hours in a day, just like the rest of us.
right.
So how do they make the most of it?
Well, one common thread we see again and again is this ruthless commitment to prioritizing.
Yeah.
And a big part of that is really understanding and wielding what our source calls the power of no.
It's funny because it seems so simple, right? Just
Y-
say no.
Yeah,
But I guess when you're at that CEO level, every single decision has these huge ripple effects.
absolutely. And the source even points out that every time you say no to something that's not truly essential, you're essentially freeing up the capacity to say a resounding yes to what truly moves the needle. It's about aligning your time with your biggest goals.
I love that. Like Steve Jobs, I read that he was constantly saying no, even to good ideas, to preserve his energy for those really great ones.
Exactly. When it comes to prioritizing, Warren Buffett has a very, very interesting approach, his 20 slot rule. Imagine, he says, you only have 20 slots to make the most impactful decisions of your life.
Wow.
What would those be? How would that change your choices today?
That's a powerful thought experiment, isn't it?
Right.
Only 20 slots for your entire life. That really forces you to cut through all the noise
Yeah.
and figure out what truly matters.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes you think about all the times we waste our decision-making energy on things that don't really matter in the long run.
Absolutely. And it ties into this idea of intentional time allocation,
Yeah.
which brings us to Elon Musk's approach to scheduling. Have you heard about this? His 5-minute blocks.
Oh, yes. Breaking down your whole day into 5-minute chunks. Sounds intense. Does it actually work?
Well, that level of microplanning might not be for everyone, and I'm not even sure Elon Musk sticks to it religiously. However, the principle is incredibly valuable. It's recognizing that time is your most precious resource. So even if we don't go full Elon, the takeaway is to be more mindful, more deliberate about how we spend our time.
So it's more about the mindset of intentional time management, not literally 5-minute blocks. Got it.
Exactly. And, you don't have to reinvent the wheel to find systems that work for you. The Pomodoro technique, for example, it's a great starting point for a lot of people. Working in those focused 25-minute bursts, followed by a short break.
I've heard of that. Have you tried it?
I have. It's great.
I imagine it's helpful for people who, get distracted easily.
Definitely. It can be a game changer for focus. But even with the best time management strategies in our toolbox, there are times when, let's face it, we just can't do it all alone. And that's where another key CEO tactic comes into play: delegation.
Delegation. It's funny because I used to think that saying if you want something done right, do it yourself was good advice. But I've learned the hard way that it can really hold you back, especially as a leader. What's the CEO perspective on that?
Well, as Richard Branson, founder of the Virgin Group, he really emphasizes that delegation isn't just about offloading tasks. It's about empowering your team. When you trust others to handle key responsibilities, it frees you up to focus on the bigger picture, setting that vision, strategizing, and tackling the challenges that require your unique skills.
That makes sense. It's about leveraging the strengths of your entire team, not just your own.
Exactly. Take Satya Nadella at Microsoft. He's known for delegating not just tasks, but even decision-making power. Trusting his team to make those judgment calls, take ownership of their work, and that really fosters this culture of trust and autonomy, which in turn speeds up execution and innovation.
It's amazing how much delegation can impact a company's culture. It's not just about getting stuff off your plate. It's really about empowering the people around you.
100%. And speaking of empowering tools, we got to talk about technology. It plays a huge role in how these CEOs manage their time and energy.
It's funny, you'd think with all their assistants and resources, CEOs wouldn't even need to bother with technology themselves.
Right.
But our source actually points to Jack Dorsey as a prime example of a tech-savvy leader.
Totally. Think about it. Technology can be like a CEO's secret weapon, especially when it comes to automation. Our source calls out tools like Asana, Monday.com, Zapier. Any of those ring a bell.
Oh, for sure. I use Asana myself for project management. It's a lifesaver for, keeping track of everything. But with all this talk of automation and optimization, it makes you wonder, do these CEOs ever slow down? Is it all work and no play?
That's such a good question. And actually, our source makes it clear that many CEOs really do prioritize well-being, understanding that it's not separate from productivity, but essential to it.
So it's not about just pushing yourself to the limit 24/7.
Not at all. In fact, there's this great story about Ariana Huffington. After experiencing burnout herself, she became a huge advocate for rest and recovery, realizing that to be truly productive, you have to prioritize your well-being.
No, that resonates. I know when I'm sleep deprived or just burnt out, I make terrible decisions and I'm definitely not as productive. It's like, trying to run a marathon on an empty tank.
Exactly. And it's not just sleep. Jeff Weiner, the former CEO of LinkedIn, he's known for putting these buffers into his day just for reflection, recharging. You know, our brains need time to process, make connections, be creative, and sometimes that means stepping away from the screen.
So instead of just powering through, it's about being more strategic with our energy. What kind of buffers are we talking about here?
It could be as simple as a 15-minute walk in the afternoon or a few minutes of meditation, even just having your coffee away from your desk. The key is to create space for your mind to kind of reset. It's interesting, though, as important as well-being is, it's only one part of the productivity puzzle. Our source brings up another challenge these CEOs face, and it's one I think we can all relate to: decision fatigue.
Decision fatigue. Oh, tell me about it. I feel like I make a million decisions before I even leave the house in the morning. What is that exactly?
It's that feeling of mental exhaustion you get from, honestly, making too many decisions in a row. CEOs, they're constantly bombarded with choices, big and small. It can really take a toll. So to combat this, they try to minimize the number of decisions they make, especially on, the less important stuff.
Oh, like having a go-to outfit every day so you don't have to decide what to wear in the morning.
Exactly. Think Mark Zuckerberg and his hoodies, or, former President Obama and his suits. They found ways to reduce the mental load of minor decisions to free up space for the big ones.
It's crazy how much those little decisions can add up, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Makes you think. But speaking of routines, our source mentions one final element of CEO productivity that I find so inspiring. It's this commitment to constant learning.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Even at the top of their game, these leaders, they're still hungry for knowledge, new perspectives, always looking to grow.
Like Bill Gates and those think weeks he does, right?
Yes.
Disconnecting to just read and think. I wish. But it's pretty amazing.
It speaks to this idea that to really stay ahead in any field, you got to be a lifelong learner, right? Reading, conferences, just being curious. These CEOs, they get it. Learning never stops.
It's inspiring. It shows that success isn't about some finish line. It's about constantly pushing yourself to learn and evolve.
Totally. Makes you think, if you had the chance to sit down with one of these CEOs, just pick their brain about productivity, who would you choose?
Oh, that's a tough one. So many incredible people, but you know what? I think I'd have to go with Oprah.
Oprah, oh, interesting choice. What draws you to her?
For me, it's the empire she built. But it's built on connection, empathy. She created this incredible brand by really understanding people, connecting with them on a deeper level. And honestly, in today's world, those skills are just as crucial as any productivity hack, don't you think?
100%. It's a great reminder that productivity isn't just about checking boxes off a list. It's about making a real impact. And that takes strong relationships, emotional intelligence, that desire to connect.
Exactly. So as we wrap up our deep dive into CEO productivity, I think the big takeaway here is that it's not about burning yourself out. It's about working smarter, taking care of ourselves, and realizing that our success, it's tied to the well-being of those around us, empowering them.
Well said. It's about finding a way to succeed that doesn't mean sacrificing our health, relationships, or our ability to grow.
Something to think about. We hope you've learned some valuable insights from these amazing leaders. Now go out there and conquer those to-do lists, but do it with intention, balance, and yeah, maybe even a little bit of that Oprah-inspired heart.